Hi guys, welcome back to Gigs 40K channel and welcome to our latest 40K battle report. Today we are doing an ITC mission. So we're taking one of the missions that we played at the Northwest Open last year, which is a modified Maelstrom mission and scouring, and we are using the deployment for Hammer and Anvil. Objective 1 for the Tau is on the balcony of the ruined Administratum building. Objective 2 is right at the top of one of the old Manufactorum buildings. And Objective 3 for the Tau is just on the Space Wolves deployment edge. For the Space Wolves, Objective 1 is right in their deployment zone, right on the edge of the battlefield, nestling between two ruined buildings. Objective number 2 is again in that ruined large structure in the middle of the battlefield, but it's at the lowest level and it's in the rubble. And then finally, Objective 3 for the Space Wolves is deep in the enemy's deployment zone, and it's in the old Imperial Guard bunker. This should be a bloody affair. Tau versus Space Wolves. 2 tournament lists. This is the lists that we took to the LCO tournament. HQ and Warlord today for the Space Wolves. I'm taking my Iron Priest on his Wolf. Comes equipped with a Hellfrost pistol, Thunderhammer and the Servo Arm. This guy is giving me Saga of the Bear. Warlord trait, which basically gives him and his unit Feel No Pain, which come in really handy. Second HQ choice, I am taking my Rune Priest. This guy comes equipped with the Runic Axe, and his psychic powers today are Fury of the Wolf Spirits and obviously his Living Lightning Primaris power. Over to troops, I'm taking a 5-man Grey Hunter squad in a Rhino, exactly the same loadout for the second squad, all equipped with bolters. Into fast attacks, I'm taking a 6-man Thunderwolf cavalry squad. In here there are 2 Thunderhammers, 2 Power Fists, and these are all equipped with Storm Shields, and they will be accompanying the Iron Priest and benefiting from that 6-up Feel No Pain today. We also have a 5-doggy pack of Fenrisian Wolves. Into elites, I'm taking a 5-man Wolverine squad, all equipped with Frost Claws. The second elite choice, I am taking my Venerable Dreadnought equipped with the Blizzard Shield and the Frost Axe, and he will be arriving from the skies in his drop pod. And my heavy support choice today that will be transporting the Wolverine, I am taking my Land Raider. And finally, joining me today, we have a Night Warden with the Gatler gun. His big D choppy chop sword. So that is my 1,850 points of Space Wolves.
Okay, so here's my 1850 points worth of Tau. Starting out with my commander. My commander is equipped with Iridium armor, which gives him a 2+ stave rather than the standard 3+. He is equipped with 2 Markalite drones. I've given him the drone controller, which means they can use his ballistic skill, and I've given him target lock so that they can fire independently at a different target if they so wish. My second HQ choice is the Cadra Fireblade, and he is going to be embedded in a 7-man Fire Warrior squad, which will be transported in a Devilfish with a Seeker missile as an upgrade. I also have 2 further squads of Fire Warriors. They're both 6-man squads. And then the elite section, I have a 3-man Crisis Suit squad, which is a bit of a mix. They've all got missile pods. Then we've got a fusion blaster in there. We've got a burst cannon, and we've got a plasma rifle. And the second squad is a bit more focused. That has basically plasma rifles throughout and 1 fusion blaster in there as well. So primarily aimed at Terminators and power armor targets. Both of those squads feature a shield drone just to give them an extra wound effectively. Then in heavy support, I've got a Firebase Cadre, which consists of 2 broadside squads, one broadside has the smart missile system and a missile drone plus a shield drone, and then the second one has got 2 missile drones, and he's got a plasma rifle as his secondary weapon. And that's accompanied with the Riptide to make up the Firebase Cadre. That has the heavy burst cannon, and I've given this velocity tracker to give it the ability to do Skyfire, as well as the stimulant injector, which will give him a 5+ feel no pain should the worst happen with his Nova Charge rolls, or otherwise he gets beaten up. My other heavy support choice is the Hammerhead. This has the smart missile system as an upgrade, but this does not feature long strike. This is a standard Hammerhead. And then I have another formation, which is the optimized stealth cadre. The optimized stealth cadre features a ghost keel with cyclic ion raker and fusion blasters, 2 squads of 4-man stealth suits, and each of those squads has a Markolite drone as an accompaniment. And then finally, in the fast attack slot, I've got a Piranha. Now, to be honest, this is partly to grant the Hunter Cadre capabilities to the squad, but to be honest, it's a nice cheap distraction, and it's a very cheeky way of getting a fusion blaster up and into the rear armor of something juicy, albeit it is typically used as a little bit of a suicide unit. But yeah, it's proved its worth from time to time. So there you go. There is my 1850 points worth of Tau.
First up for the Tau, on the right hand side of the battlefield, we have the Piranha. This thing is looking at moving up the field quite quickly and using its fusion blaster to full effect. Right behind that, we have the Hammerhead. This thing will be laying down its fire in the open lanes of the battlefield. Hunkered down right at the back of the battlefield, as Tau do, holding on to Objective 1, we have the broadsides, again looking at laying fire down across the battlefield. These things should hopefully destroy quite a lot of the Space Wolves before they get close enough to combat. Next to them, we have the Riptide sitting nicely at the back of the battlefield, right in the middle of the deployment zone. Again, this thing, it's arcs of fire, it's got options. That's all I'm worried about, is this stupid thing. Right at the front of the deployment, we have the crisis suits using their jetpacks. They will be able to maneuver themselves around the battlefield quite quickly. Their plasma rifles being used to full effect. Right behind them, we have the Tau commander for today's battle, looking at yelling his orders across the network to the rest of his little Tau friends. And behind them, hunkered down in the bunkers, we have a Fire Warrior squad, again holding on to the Space Wolf Objective 3. On to the right hand flank of the battlefield now for the Tau, we have another squad of crisis suits. Again, their jetpacks moving, they can move around the battlefield quite quickly. Hunkered down behind the old Manufactorum buildings, we have another Fire Warrior squad, again looking at holding the Space Wolves at bay. And finally, we have the Devilfish. There is a Fire Warrior squad in there, and the Fireblade Cadre. So that is the deployment for the Tau, but not forgetting that in reserve we have the Ghost Kill and we have the Stealth Suit squads. So the Wolves, they are kind of hunkered down on the centre ground of this battlefield, with options to go left or right around the main ruins of the building. We have the first of the Rhinos with the 5-man squads in, holding on to the Space Wolves Objective 1. Now into the centre ground, which is where all the punch and firepower for the Wolves are. We have the Imperial Knight Warden looking at moving up and getting into the Tau lines as quickly as possible. He will be supported by the Thunderwolf Cavalry and the Iron Priest. They are ready to gallop their way across on their mounts into combat as quickly as possible. They are going to be buffed by the Wolfrin, which are obviously inside my Land Raider, and behind them we have the other Rhino with the 5-man squad in. On the right hand side of the battlefield, we have the Fenrisian Wolves. I was looking or thinking about outflanking these, but I've decided to bring them on the board to start with, and hopefully running them up, maybe giving the Tau something to think about as these guys all march up to get into combat. So it is Tau to go first, unless I can seize the initiative, which I do not.
So I've rolled for my ITC objectives, and I've selected hold objective 1, which is conveniently occupied by the broadsides. And I've also elected to go for hold objective 2, which at first seems a little strange because it's all the way up at the top of that 3-storey building. But I do have a unit down here that's already moved forward, and the plan is to use their jetpack assault move to get them up there and hopefully claim that objective by the end of this turn and keep them there for the start of my next turn so I can claim those points. As I've already pointed out, that unit's moved forward, and I've also moved my commander forward. And I do have a little bit of a plan for him. So the primary objective really is the knight. What I want to do is use the 2 Markerlight drones to light him up, hopefully score 2 hits, and then remove his cover save. And that's going to apply not only to these guys with their plasma rifles, but also to the hammerhead, also to the broadsides. And I'm going to use the ability of the Riptide to move, to run in the assault phase. And if he gets a decent enough run, then he's going to have his heavy burst cannon in range as well. So there's going to be a lot of shots coming down at that guy without a cover save. Now, admittedly, obviously his shield is going to still be there, but at least that cover save is taken out of the equation. My Piranha's also having a sneaky run around the building. Not able to get it anywhere into range just yet, but the plan is to sneak around the side of the buildings and pop up as a little surprise a little bit later on. Now, on the opposite side of the board, I've got a pack of Fenrisian wolves coming my way, which I'm not massively keen on. So my Fire Warrior squad has moved up to form a bit of a shooting gallery, and I've also put the second crisis suits into their position as well, so they can open up and fire. They will be moving away at the end of their shooting phase thanks to the jetpack move. Move them away from the risk and move them into safety. So my commander managed to land 1 out of 2 Markerlights onto the knight, which wasn't enough to strip it of cover, but I don't suppose it really would have made that much difference. So we carried on shooting anyway, and I used that Markerlight to boost the ballistic skill of all the units that were firing at the knight. But unfortunately, even with all that combined firepower, particularly from the broadsides and from the hammerhead, only managed to knock 1 hull point off the knight. So that's a little bit frustrating, but I guess that's the joy of having a shield. I've then used their assault moves to just tuck them out the way, because obviously this guy is going to be shooting back, and there's also some scary las cannons over there on the Land Raider. I used the assault move from the crisis suit to get them up there. It was a nice roll, got them all the way up to that objective, which is awesome. Hopefully they can stay put there and keep that objective for themselves. And then just behind them, possibly foolishly used the crisis suits a jetpack move over there to leap them up to the building. That squad had previously wiped out the Fenrisian wolves that were occupying that space down there. So I've popped them up there just to get them into a bit of cover, get them out of the way. Hopefully the Land Raider rumble by and we can pop out and shoot the squishy cargo inside, or move on to juicier objects that are kicking around behind.
So my objectives this turn are hold objective 1 and destroy an enemy unit. So my Rhino at the back of the board is staying still, the engine ticking over, holding on to objective 1 for me. The Knight, now the Knight has moved forward. It's gone its full 12. It's going to look at possibly putting its shots down onto the Riptide, maybe onto the Hammerhead.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it right. My Dreadnought and the Drop Pod are in. So my Drop Pod landed exactly where I wanted it, and I've taken my Dreadnought out and hiding him behind the old fuel dump down there, looking at weathering some shots this turn, and then hopefully walking in and getting into combat with some nice juicy Tau targets. On the right hand flank of the battlefield for the Wolves, the Rhino has moved up 6 inches, has made it over the RJS lines without causing any damage to myself, which is always a bit of a bonus. Now there is a Psyker in here, so I can use some of its Psyche powers on the Crisis Battle Suits that are hiding inside this building. But my Wolfrin inside the Land Raider passed on Bestial Swiftness to my Thunderwolf Cavalry, so they've gone 15 inches, nicely within charge range now of these. And obviously the Land Raider has moved up 6. The Wolfrin are staying inside this turn. The Psyker inside of the Rhino opened up with Living Lightning. and hit and did a wound to the Crisis battle suits down here. And then the sponson from the Land Raider opened up, killing off the top guy. Now, I think I am right that you can do psychic powers out of the fire point of the Rhino, but leave a comment if I am wrong on that. The drop pod that came screaming in from the heavens opened up with his Stormbolter, killing off one of the Fire Warriors squad down here. The Knight opened up at the Riptide, doing 3 wounds, but Jonathan managed to save them all. Now, what I did do with this is the Heavy Stubber I opened up at the Crisis suits that are on top of this building. So my aim now is to try and get this bad boy into assault. So the Knight made it into combat with the Crisis squad that were holding on to Objective 2, which Jonathan would have scored at the start of his next turn, but the D weapon on the Knight, I got 2 6s on the D table, which is basically D6 plus 6. I then re-rolled 2 6s. So there was 19 wounds in total. 19. They died. So the Knight has consolidated down 5 inches and will be ready to make his way more and deeper into the tower lines. Similar story on the right-hand side of the battlefield. The second Crisis squad has just been wiped out by the Thunderwolf cavalry. I did take 1 wound during Overwatch, but no wounds done back to me in combat at all. Thunderwolf cavalry just basically smashed them clean in the face, killing them off in this building. They are now free to move along. I'd have consolidated up 1 inch, but their next target will be the Fire Warriors squad. So my objectives that turn was to destroy an enemy unit, which I've done, and also hold on to Objective 1, which I am currently doing. So if Jonathan pulls me off this objective, then I will only get 1 victory point for this turn. If he fails to destroy this Rhino, it is going to be 2.
Okay, so just a reminder for my objectives from last turn, which was 1, to hold Objective 1, which I have achieved and scored a victory point. And secondly was to hold Objective 2, which I have failed to achieve, and therefore earn no victory points from that.
Thanks to a Knight punching you in the face.
Yes, thanks, Rich. This turn I'm required to hold Objective 1 again, which I hopefully will be able to do with the 2 broadsides that are still here, plus the hammerhead if it really comes down to it. And I'm also required to destroy an enemy unit, and hopefully that will happen during the course of this turn. In terms of the movement that I've done, the Riptide has moved to counter the Dreadnought, which you can just about see hiding here behind the oil terminal type thing. My commander has also gone off in that direction, but leaving his drones behind. He's got target lock as an upgrade, so I'm going to shoot the drones at the Knight, use those hits hopefully to boost the ballistic skill of the other models that will be targeting it, while the commander himself is going to target the Dreadnought, which is around the corner. The Devilfishers remain stationary and the troops have disembarked 2 inches, including the Fireblade Cadre up at the top there. Those guys are going to be raining shots down at the Thunderwolf cavalry coming around the corner, and hopefully his Marker Light will be boosting the ballistic skill of the squad that's just underneath there. That's the plan. My Piranha has made the move from outside the back of the building and is bringing his melt gun to the party in the rear of the Knight, which leaves Rich with the dilemma of where to set his shields, because he's got broadsides on one side and he's got a fusion blaster coming up behind him from the Piranha as well. And then further round, my Ghost Keel has come in from reserves, unfortunately without a stealth suit squad to go with him, but he's in play, and I'm going to be using him to target the Rhino that's down here, because Rich needs to hold on to this objective down here. And I don't know if I'll be able to disrupt it enough, but I'm going to start messing up with things down in the back lines down here, and hopefully get a stealth suit squad or 2 in on my next turn. So the Ghost Keel opened up at the Rhino and has damaged it with 2 hull points down. It is now also stunned and shaken. And then the Ghost Keel used his assault move to retreat a suitable distance away. The Piranha managed to put a dent in the rear armour of the Knight, and it's now down to 2 hull points as a result of that attack, plus the shots coming at it from the hammerhead and from the broadsides. The Dreadnought that you can just about see behind the oil terminal has been pretty badly beaten up by the Riptide and by the Commander. Now you're probably thinking there's no line of sight there, but these guys have actually moved in the assault phase. And there was a clear line of sight, and they've basically knocked it down to just a single hull point remaining. And across the far side of the battlefield, the 2 Fire Warrior squads have taken down 1 Thunderwolf cavalry model, and 1 is just on 1 wound remaining. So not too bad a round of shooting altogether.
At the start of this turn, the Rhino with the 5-man Grey Hunter squad is still alive, so I earn a victory point for holding objective 1 from the previous turn. This turn's objectives are kill an enemy unit twice, so I have to kill 2 things. So with that in mind, the Land Raider has moved up, the Wolfrin have jumped out and are looking at the back of the Piranha. They will be going into combat here, hopefully destroying this. The Knight, a little bit shaken with 2 hull points left. However, the Commander or the Riptide is right in front of him, so I am going to go into combat here, hopefully killing these off. The Dreadnought has moved up around his cover. Now he has only got 1 hull point left. I'm hoping he can survive all the Overwatch shots the Tau put down to take me into the Fire Warrior squad. The Thunderwolf Cavalry have moved up and are looking at entering into combat with the 5-man Fire Warrior squad down here. So I'm hoping at the end of this turn we'll have that squad dead, that squad dead, the Riptide or the Commander dead, and the Piranha dead, and that would be a good turn. That was a pretty uneventful round of shooting. So basically the bolter from inside the Rhino from one of the Grey Hunters opened up at the Ghost Kill, no damage. The side sponson from the Land Raider opened up at the Ghost Kill, no damage. The heavy bolters opened up at the Piranha, no damage. Las Cannon down here opened up at the Riptide down here, no damage. No damage done from the Knight either. Hellfrost Pistol from the Thunderwolf Cavalry, or the Iron Priest down here, killed off 1 of the Fire Warriors. And the only other thing to open up was the Storm Bolters from the Drop Pod, which killed off another of the Fire Warrior squad. But it's now over to Assault. So this is where the punch of this Space Wolf army comes in, and I'm hoping for a lot of casualties. So the turn started out quite badly. My Knight fell down to Overwatch Tau shenanigans once again. Going boom. It went massive, huge explosion, but there was no damage done to any of these dirty little fish people down here. However, the Wolfrin went into combat with the Piranha, completely and utterly destroying that. So that's 1 victory point for 1 unit destroyed. The Dreadnought made it into combat, killing off the squad. 2 guys survived, but they failed their morale check and are running away. They're so close to running off the board edge, it is unbelievable. And finally, for my 2nd victory point this turn, the Thunderwolf Cavalry just absolutely pummeled the 5-man Fire Warrior squad down here. So these guys now are looking at their next couple of targets. They're looking at coming and swinging round this side of the battlefield, but that does mean that I have scored 2 victory points this turn. Quite happy about that.
So you may remember last turn's objectives were 1 to hold on to objective 1, which I have achieved and scored therefore another victory point, and the other objective was to destroy an enemy unit, which I failed to achieve. I've re-rolled my objectives for this turn, and again I've got hold objective 1, so I kept that. And I've also elected the best of a bad bunch, which was to hold objective 2, which, to remind you, is at the top of that building, just up there. Next thing that I did was check the morale on that little squad down here, and as you can see they have failed and exited the table. However, they have in some way been replaced by the Stealth Squad, which has decided to grace us with its presence. I then moved the Ghost Keel up to support that unit. I've elected to move the Riptide very slightly away from the oncoming Dreadnought, but enough to still get me the double bubble on the Fusion Blaster. My Commander has made his way towards objective number 2. I'm hoping for a mega assault roll when it's time. And I've left his targeting drones, the Markalite drones, back there to support the Riptide in his endeavours to destroy that Dreadnought during the course of this turn. So on this corner of the building I was left with a bit of a dilemma. I don't really want my Fire Warriors to get mullered in close combat, but if I pile them in the back of the Devilfish, they're only going to go 6 inches, and then that's going to get blown up, and then they'll spill out, and then they get killed next turn. So I decided to be brave, and I decided to stand exactly where they are, keep them still, because of course the Fireblade Cadre gives these guys the ability to roll an extra shot, so I'm going to be hoping that makes a difference this turn. I've also used the movement on the Devilfish to get it round the side of the building and get it a fire rock there for the smart missile system and for the burst cannon. So hopefully we'll put a dent in that unit before they do the inevitable and take me down. So the combined fire from the Stealth Squad and from the Ghost Keel have taken 2 Wolfren away, which is going to soften up that unit quite nicely. The Hammerhead and the Broadsides fired at the Land Raider, and it's been stripped of all of its hull points, so that is a flaming wreck, which is pretty neat actually. It's quite nice to take 250 points off the board. My Riptide has removed the remaining hull point from the Dreadnought, and that's also flaming wreck as well, which is good. So that's the good points. Now onto the bad points. The Fire Warrior squad down here, even with all of their shots and even at strength 5, failed really to do any significant damage to the Thunderwolf cavalry. And adding the Devilfish into the mix really didn't make any difference at all. Literally just 1 wound scored. And that's taken 1 model off the table because one of them was already wounded. But not a particularly good result considering the amount of dice that's been chucked around down there. It's quite frustrating. In the assault phase, my movements, I was hoping to get the commander up to grab that objective. But as you can see, his dice roll fell short. So he's not going to be able to claim that victory point next turn, unfortunately. But I still think it's a pretty good turn all in. You can't argue with taking a Land Raider, can't argue with taking a Dreadnought down. It's all good.
That last turn combination there hurts. Losing my Knight, losing my Land Raider, losing my Dreadnought hurt. Yeah, so on to turn 3. My objectives for this turn are hold objective 1 and destroy an enemy unit. So with that in mind, the Wolfren are heading back round here. They're going to head, well, they're going to run and then they're going to assault into the Stealth Squad suit. The Rhino down here has stayed on objective 1 for me, holding me that. But the Grey Hunters are out. Rapid fire range of the Ghost Kill. The other Rhino has moved up. The Grey Hunters are out, and so is the Rune Priest, and they are going to rapid fire and psychic shenanigans into the Ghost Kill, hopefully killing that off. Hopefully killing the Stealth Squad off in combat. And round the right-hand flank of the battlefield, the march of the Thunderwolf cavalry on their mission to kill anything blue and fishy continues. The next Fire Warrior squad are their target. Ghost Kill is still alive. These guys down here rapid fired. These guys rapid fired down here. Now Jonathan deployed hollow photonic countermeasures, so these guys are only snap firing. Maroon Priest took a damage from Perils from the Warp. Yay, that went really well. So this guy is untouched. And that was pretty much it in the shooting phase. The Hellfrost pistol from the Iron Priest opened up as well, killing off one of the Fire Warriors. And then obviously we went straight into assault. The Wolfren made it into combat. I lost one guy and had 1 put on 1 wound during the Overwatch shots. Killed off everybody apart from that one little guy. So that denied me kill an enemy unit down here. So obviously I had hold objective 1 and kill an enemy unit. And that was a bit of a fail down there. But then on the right-hand side of the battlefield, the Thunderwolf cavalry came to my rescue. They got into combat with the Fire Warrior squad that were up on that balcony. And again, smashed them to pieces. So they are now free to move around, looking at bigger, juicier targets that are just in sight.
So once again, one of my objectives last turn was to hold objective 1, which I can still claim to have. So that's another victory point chalked up for the greater good. In terms of the rest of the movement, well, you can see the Hammerhead has finally decided to make a small little move just to give me a line of sight on the Thunderwolf cavalry. These guys up here, they've already got a nice tidy line of sight from up there, so they're quite happy. My Devilfish I've backed up just to sit on objective 6 in case it comes up later on. And my Riptide, I've backed away from the Thunderwolves, and you're just looking to just pummel those guys this turn and hopefully cause them some disruption. The objectives that I pulled out this turn are for 1 to kill an enemy unit, which we'll talk about later. And the second objective was to grab objective number 2, which I've done by the commander and his accompanying drones up there. So you can see that is, well, it's not sewn up yet, you can't count your chickens, but he's in the right place. He's just got to last out my turn and the enemy turn in order to score that victory point. My stealth suit squad member down here is obviously tied up in combat. There's nothing he can do. But my ghost keel has moved away from that combat to go and pick on that little squad over there. And you can see new into the fray is the second stealth suit squad. Now this is a very cheap and cheesy maneuver, but that rhino does look incredibly flimsy right now, especially when we use wall of mirrors and start throwing shots at its rear armour. So that is going to be hopefully the source of a victory point just by taking that down. It is cheap, it is nasty, but hey, they all count the same. So the broadsides and the hammerhead shot into the Thunderwolf cavalry, they've caused a grand total of 1 wound. Wow, totally underwhelmed by that, but there you go. Slightly better news on this side of the table, where as you can see, in the end I decided not to use wall of mirrors, and I split the fire between the stealth squad and the ghost keel. So the ghost keel fired at the unit and killed 2 members of that unit, and the stealth suits pummeled loads of shots into the side of the rhino, and as you can see, it's now a flaming wreck, which means that's an extra victory point for me because that is an enemy unit destroyed, which is awesome. In the assault moves, I've backed the stealth suit squad away. You can just see them behind the building there, and I've backed the ghost keel away just for the time being. I've also moved the Riptide as well. I'm looking to get the Riptide's might involved down this side of the table to try and bolster the tower, because we're looking a little thin on the ground. And in the only combat of the game, fairly predictably, the single last man standing in the stealth suit squad succumbed to the Wolfren, so no great surprises there. But that's the end of that turn, and at least 1 extra victory point chalked up. And I have my commander sitting pretty on that objective as it stands as well. So not wishing to count the chickens, all being well, that should be another victory point a bit later on.
At the start of the 4th turn for the Space Wolves, I scored destroy an enemy unit and hold objective 1 in the previous turn because my rhino is holding on to that. My objectives this turn are hold objective 1 again and hold objective 3. So movement, the Wolfren have moved up. They're looking at going into the back of the Riptide. These guys have now started their march to hold on to this objective here. The Wolf Priest and the 2 remaining Grey Hunters have rallied and looking at laying fire down onto the Ghost Keel. And then finally, the Thunderwolf Cavalry are looking at going into the Devilfish. Now, my objective 3 is just to the side of it. So basically, nothing happened in the shooting phase whatsoever. Down here, the Devilfish was destroyed in close combat. I'm just out of holding that objective. That's really annoying. On other news, the Riptide has gone. The Wolfren made it into combat. I lost 1 guy in the result. He did his death frenzy, but Jonathan saved that. And then Jonathan lost the combat, failed, ran away, got charged down by the Wolfren. Now, I think we're right on that. We have checked the Monstrous Creatures special rule. We can't spot anything that says that you can't be charged down. So, he's dead. And I will take that every day. So, this turn, it looks like I'm only going to score hold objective 1 unless Jonathan destroys this rhino.
So last turn I had to hold objective 1, which is still safe and secure over in the back there with the broadsides. This turn for my objectives, I've drawn hold objective 1 again, which is pretty awesome, and hold objective 2, which you can see my commander has set up base camp up there. So those guys are not going to move. We're going to keep them pretty still and just hold on to those objectives. Now I know that Richard's objectives are to hold objective 1, which is down here with the rhino. So I'm looking to destroy that rhino, and I've come up with a nasty plan that involves using the marker light drones from the commander up there. If I can score 2 hits on that, then I'm going to give that ability to the broadsides, and they're going to be able to fire and ignore cover, which is pretty harsh, but it will take that vehicle off the objective if I can string that together. The full black plan involves the Ghost Keel and the Stealth Squad. So there's a Marker drone in the Stealth Suit Squad, which is backup plan if the commander fails to hit with one of his 2 Marker. And if we need to, I'm going to fire that squad over in that direction. If not, then we're going to use the Ghost Keel and the Stealth Suit Squad to finish off this unit down here with the 3 guys in it. My Hammerhead has opened up the distance a little bit from the Thunderwolf Cavalry that are still coming down the building. I'm hoping that lone Wolfram will already be popped off by the commander. Remember, the commander's got target lock, so he's going to fire at the Wolfram and he's going to use his drones to fire at the Rhino. So if that guy's removed, then we've got a shot down here at this squad down here, which is massive overkill, but it's a shot and you've got to take them when they come up. So the plan pretty much worked. The Rhino down here is toast. There's 1 Grey Hunter left on his own, thanks to shots from the Stealth Squad and from the Hammerhead as well. He's now kind of on his own. The only kind of winners out of this, these guys down here with the Rune Priest. I fired the Ghost Kill at these guys and well, they just laughed it off really. So Fusion Blaster and an overcharged Cyclic Iron Raker meant nothing to them at all. No wounds, nothing to report whatsoever.
Jonathan denied me scoring any victory points from the previous turn. So my objectives this turn are hold objective 2 and hold objective 3. If we don't get a turn 6, we don't score these victory points, and it's really, really close on the secondary missions on the Maelstroms. So I've had to think about this and think about this quite carefully. So, with everything in mind, the 1 remaining Grey Hunter who has rallied is back holding me this objective down here, because the primary is the Scouring. Grey Hunter and the Rune Priest are looking at killing off the Stealth Squad suit, going into combat, doing a little bit of shooting with the bolt pistols. Hopefully, if they kill them off in combat, in their consolidation moves, hopefully maybe get them onto this objective here. So that'll give me 2 objectives. Thunderwolf Cavalry. The Thunderwolf Cavalry are now minus the Iron Priest. These guys are here. This guy is kind of up on this ledge. The idea is, there's actually 2, but I really can't place a miniature, so there's one on the bottom level. So the idea is combat, kill off the commander, take objective 2. Finally, the Iron Priest who broke off from them is now screwing me line breaker, also holding me objective 3 down here. So if everything comes off to plan, we might score a couple of it. Well, we might hopefully secure primary, and maybe if we don't get a turn 6, secure me secondary. The Rune Priest and the Grey Hunter opened it up with their bolt pistols and went into combat. I lost 1 to Overwatch, killed 2 in the combat phase, and then these guys managed to pass their leadership, so we are locked in combat, which is a little bit annoying. Over here on better news, the Grey Hunters went into combat with the Tau Commander, killing him off. I did lose 1, a combination of the Overwatch with the Ghost Kill and the Commander, and then getting hit in combat meant I lost 1. So these guys have now consolidated up and they're holding on to objective 2, but they also score me Slay the Warlord. So with everything in mind, Jonathan, do you want to roll me a dice to see if we get a turn 6? We do.
So last turn I had to try and hold on to objective 1, which is still underneath the broadsides just down here. And as you've just witnessed, I was trying to hold on to objective 2, but that's clearly been overrun, at least for now. I've just redrawn my objectives for this turn, and this time I need to grab objective number 3, which is just down here, and destroy an enemy unit. So with that in mind, the plan is for the Ghost Keel to just nip around the corner and take out the 1 remaining Marine out of that squad. And that's going to be a unit destroyed, all being well. I've got my Hammerhead trained towards the Iron Priest over there. I don't think 1 shot from there is going to be anywhere near enough, but it just makes sense as a target. And the broadsides are going to fire their railguns into the building up there and hopefully take down the Thunderwolf Cavalry. Finally get rid of them, because they are proper annoying. So the Ghost Keel managed to finish off the unit down there, which has scored me an extra victory point. In the end, I decided to fire the Hammerhead at the Thunderwolf Cavalry up there, and that shot combined with the shots from the broadside have whittled those down to just one model with a single wound remaining. Turns out when you take the Iron Priest away, you lose the Warlord trait, and the Feel No Pain disappears with it, so they become a lot more squishy real quick. So that's quite encouraging that it's just got one wound left to go. There's a part of me that wants another turn just to kill him off, to be honest, but there you go, that's what it is for now. So yeah, other than that, assault moves, I've moved the Ghost Keel back to sit on objective 3, and I'm going to hope for the best that I'm still there by the end of the counter-attack from the Space Wolves.
So, as we enter what could be possibly the last turn of this battle, I've really had to think about what I'm going to do here, because primary, secondary and tertiary in play. Really had to concentrate here and just try and make the right decisions. So the only thing that has moved, because out of the previous turn I scored objective 2, hold objective 2 and hold objective 3, and my Iron Priest is currently scoring me Line Breaker. So the only thing that has moved and has ran is the Rune Priest and the one remaining Grey Hunter, which are now holding on to that objective there because of the primary of the Scouring. So we need to see if we get a turn 7. So Jonathan, do you want to roll me a dice? So we do get a turn 7. Now my objectives for turn 6 were hold objective 3 and hold objective 2. So it's going to be really interesting. This is actually really close. Really close.
So you may remember that my last objective was to, well, one of the last objectives was to hold on to objective number 3, which I did, thanks to the Ghost Keel. The Ghost Keel has now made a move around the corner to sit on top of this objective marker here, which is Rich's objective marker number 1. As you can see, the Hammerhead itself has moved flat out to park itself on top of my objective number 3. In terms of shooting, both those models are either unable or have nothing to shoot at. But my two broadside squads up here have both opened up. One of them tried to take out the squad in the bottom of the building there, and as you can see, that was not successful. Scored 1 wound, that's it. But the other broadside managed to wipe out the Thunderwolf Cavalry above. And to be honest, whether I win, lose or draw this game, that is a massive moral victory. Just taking those Thunderwolf out completely is awesome, and I'm very happy with that. So that is the end of my turn. There will be no objectives, of course, because there's not going to be a turn 8. The game automatically ends at the end of this turn. So it's down to Rich to see what he can come back with, and then we'll tot up the numbers.
So into the Space Wolves turn 7. The only thing that's moved was I detached the one remaining Grey Hunter in an attempt to get him into combat with the Hammerhead down here. I needed 7-inch charge, and I rolled a 6, so he didn't make it in, and that's the only thing to happen this turn, really. So there we go then, guys. That is the end of the game. That was quite close, quite a bloody affair again here on Geeks. So down to primary, the Scouring. Jonathan holds 1 objective marker, 2 objective markers, 3 objective markers. To the Space Wolves, 1 and 2. So that's 4 victory points of primary to Jonathan. Over to secondary. I win that. The Space Wolves get that one by 10 victory points to 9. So that's 4 victory points for me. So that's 4 all. And then we're on to tertiary. Now tertiary's Big Game Hunter, Linebreaker and Slay the Warlord. And they are all worth 1 victory point each. So Jonathan gets Linebreaker. He also gets Big Game Hunter because he's destroyed 3 tanks. I've only destroyed 1. So that's an extra 2 victory points for him. So that is 6 victory points in total. My Iron Priest down here secures me Linebreaker. And we also destroyed the Tail Commander. So that's an extra victory point for me. So in the end, it finishes 6 all. And is a draw. So then, guys, just going to do a quick little sum up at the end of that game. That was a really good fun battle to take part in. That was brilliant. The Space Wolves Tau have clashed quite a few times on this channel between me and John. And he's always beating me. He's always kicked my ass, to be quite honest. And I thought I was going to have him there, but a draw. I tried everything to pull that win out of the bag, but a draw I think was a fair result. The Tau were good again. The Space Wolves. Space Wolves are very good. Unit of the game for me was probably the Thunderwolf Cavalry again, just because they're so resilient and they just literally just mull at anything they get into combat with. Let me down, probably my knight again. But I will say that in the first turn it did its job. It absorbed so much firepower. Jonathan, you did. Jonathan threw a lot of firepower at it. But while he's throwing that firepower at my knight, he's ignoring my Thunderwolf Cavalry. He's ignoring my Wolfkin. So that's kind of the idea behind the knight. I know it's a 400 point bullet magnet, but it works and it works well.
Effective bullet magnet.
It is. So these are our tournament lists that we're taking to tournaments this year. To how many of we go to. So Thunderwolves, Wolfkin, Wolverine, Imperial Knight. It's a nice combination. Your tournament list's quite powerful because you've got your Ghost Kill in there, you've got your Riptide in there, and the LCO tournament is Jonathan's first.
Yes, I'm a noob.
You are, but the Tau list's quite strong, and it's testament that the Thunderwolf Cavalry running around mullering everybody, that you managed to get the draw out of that, and you made some very good tactical decisions in there to pull that draw out.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the game keeps going on, then the Tau just don't really have an answer to that. As soon as we're in combat, it's game over. So staying out of combat.
I think on this occasion, having the extra 2 turns, and having turn 6 and turn 7 actually got you the draw. If we'd stopped at turn 5, it'd have been a win for the Space Wolves. Stopped at turn 6, it'd have been a win for the Space Wolves.
There were some dark times in the middle of the game where I thought I was done for, to be honest. So yeah, I was having a little bit of time to pull it back was lucky, but that's just the nature of the way the game was with lots of different objectives.
So what about your unit of the game? Who did really well for the Tau today?
Okay.
None of your Fire Warriors squads, because they just died.
Well, yeah, true. They were pretty flimsy, to be honest with you, but I think that's a known issue anyway. Synergy was a really big winner. Just having units working together, playing to the formations, getting them to help each other out was really good. In fact, to pick a man of the match, it would probably be the Riptide, though.
You see, now to me, the moment of the game is when your Riptide was pulled down by one lone Wolfkin in combat.
It's Tau and they suck in close combat, but then if you look at the amount of damage it was dishing out...
It had to die.
Well, yes. So it was a slight bullet magnet, but it caused a lot of pain, and if I kept it out of combat, it's probably a mistake. In retrospect, even one Wolverine, it doesn't look like a particular threat on the board, but yet it managed to pull down a Riptide, so... But you can't underestimate even one model.
No, you can't, but that's the beauty of the Wolverine as well, being able to move, run and assault in the turn. So you can try and jet back out of the way, but there is a very good chance I'm going to get into combat with you. So yeah, that was a really, really good game. I like the format of tournament missions where you have a primary, secondary and a tertiary.
So much to think about, and it really keeps you on your toes.
It really does. You have to think about it. Now, obviously, in normal tournament circumstances, you have 2.5 hour time limit to play a game, so you're also under time restraints as well. When we're filming, it takes a lot longer. It literally takes like 4 to 5 hours to film one of these battle reports with the filming element of it in as well. Please leave us a comment in the box below. What do you think of our tournaments lists for this year? The Space Wolves might get tweaked. I have another 3 Thunderwolf Cavalry that I'm painting up to give me 2 squads of Thunderwolf Cavalry, because everybody loves my Thunderwolf Cavalry. And then obviously I've got another squad of Wolverine to do as well, which will give me the Wolfkin formation and will enable me to run around a little bit better.
Sounds really cheesy.
It is. So my Imperial Knight will probably be replaced at some point in the year for tournaments with that. And please leave us a like, it does help out the channel. I hope you did enjoy that, because that was brilliant fun to take part in from our point of view. As always, please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and we will see you guys on the next one.